The challenge of an artist lies in the expression of beauty. Not necessarily in regard to the aesthetic, but to those things which lie closest to a truth. In the case of wire mesh, the aesthetic is an integral part of the expression, but the forms are used to convey emotions or ideas. Beyond the decorative, figurative work in wire mesh is meant to engage the intellect and the curiosity of the viewer, stimulating, among other things, memory. The memory of a gesture or a perspective or a chance expression of the body or face. It could be the recollection of a hope or desire, even the occasion of a fleeting experience, or the familiar is brought back to the viewer in a continuation with the long tradition of the figure in art, in its fullness and its scope. Sculpting in wire mesh equally involves the use of the right and left halves of the brain, the creative and the analytical. Destruction best describes the process of working stone, the removal of extraneous material to reach the object embedded within. The molding of clay is a constructive process, a piecing together, building, adjusting a material to achieve the desired form. The manipulation of wire mesh is none of these. To equate sculpting in wire mesh with any other process might be to describe it as an exercise in origami while contemplating a Rubik's Cube. Beginning with a square, rectangle, triangle, or other polygonal piece of mesh, the transformation to figure occurs without the use of any tools but the hands, in essence, skin against skin. As important, the integrity of the initial geometric shape is never compromised by the removal of excess material or cutting. To do so would be to reduce a rather complex process to merely one of just cutting out paper dolls. The final piece must include all the original material intact, with the same properties of cloth. An area of wire mesh, when moved or stressed, will affect all other areas of the mesh as well. What is required is a visualization of a two-dimensional space to three, and a calculation of manipulations in an order that brings the final form to fruition. Wire mesh represents one of the purest manifestations of fractals, that geometric repetition of self-similarity. From a single square progressing to a grid of 4, then 16, and eventually upward to as many as 250,000 individual squares in the largest of sculptures. Each square is a replication of the next larger in a geometric progression. It is this cold repetition of a two-dimensional industrial material, when distorted into complex curves of space, that creates, with no change of the actual surface area of the material, the subtle expression of the human body through a physical manipulation and caress of cold steel, with only the hands. Now, unlike the traditional sculpting materials of stone and clay, wire mesh encompasses many dimensions at once: metal, light, and empty space are the three components that together in varying degrees bring new directions to classical figurative sculpture. Of the three, metal at times seems to be the least significant. Typical sculpture is but 1/3 wire and 2/3 empty space. Shadow play from light at various angles extends the sculpture beyond its physical bounds, casting an image not unlike a charcoal sketch that can take on a form identical to the sculpture itself, or become an abstract apparition. Mood, and meaning, and movement are enhanced, redefined, or obliterated altogether by a flick of the switch, or by the changing angle of the sun's rays. It's at once animated and elemental. Sculpture in wire mesh allows for a continued involvement and reinterpretation of the work beyond its finished form. Depicted, the partial figure alludes to a circumstance neither confined nor defined, its history determined through the body of experience that resides within each observer. Ambiguity of ethnicity, and at times even sex, clears the path for a pursuit of universal ideas and experiences. Transcending the restrictions and conventions of an era, the expression of the nude is one of emotion, not limited to a period bound by design. The simplicity of raw material that is wire mesh, unassaulted by tools other than the hands. The reliance on light and shadow, and the uniqueness of each piece, speak of an essence both natural and sublime, unmolested by modern effects. What arises is a fundamental impression of life, mysterious, tortured, joyous, plaintive, and sensuous.